Couple hours in paradise have quickly turned into a possibly 12-year prison sentence for one Central Virginia man.
This morning, one of the Americans facing prison time in Turks and Caicos over ammunition in their luggage is speaking out ahead of his plea hearing later today.
After he was arrested April 20th for having 2 stray rounds of ammunition in his backpack.
This morning, more trouble in paradise. Tyler Wenrich, a Virginia father, 911 operator, and EMT, the latest American.
So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when she calls you an EMT?
I think a lot of people attribute EMS folks as a whole as EMTs.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like bother me at all. But I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah. What's paramedic school like in Virginia? Is that where you went?
Yeah, I went to paramedic school in 2016 to 2019. So it's a 2-year associate's program. And then you have to go through the National Registry test, capstone through school, and then after school. Because the one in school is kind of just like a practice test, but it counts to pass the curriculum.
Sure. You've got to go for 3 years in Virginia?
It's 2 years for paramedic.
2 years for
if
paramedic.
you have your EMT already.
Right. And then they use National Registry there?
It's not required, but but you can get it while you go through the school. So you have to keep it up yourself.
So is Virginia one of those states that has their own state paramedic test?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to get nationally registered, you have to take a state paramedic test and the National Registry test.
So you have to take you just take the National Registry. So you take the National Registry practical at the time and the National Registry written, and then that counts as your national and your state.
I got you. And so how did you end up getting into that world in the first place, becoming an EMT?
Yeah, so I wanted to be in law enforcement when I was a kid. And to get into the public safety world, I started to volunteer with my local rescue squad in Powhatan. And that was back in 2011. I went through some driver school first, like a lot of people start with.
Like an evoc thing?
Like a year. What'd you say?
Like an evoc thing, like emergency vehicle training?
Yeah, I did evoc first. I was a driver only for like 6 months to a year. And then I went to EMT school to get my EMT and just kept my EMT for a long time. Tried to get in law enforcement for a while. Did 911 dispatch for a few years. And then I went and got my paramedic in 2016 and started with the company that I'm with now so that I could go to school.
What'd you start doing as a paramedic? Were you working on a 911 truck, on an ambulance, or just back into dispatch?
Yeah, it was 911 truck as a paramedic.
Yeah, what you don't have to say the name of the service. What kind of service was it? How was the setup?
It's rural.
Super rural. Is it like a county department or something like that, or like for profit, or how's it set up?
It's so Powhatan was just volunteers, strictly volunteers for a long time. And then they started to integrate like chase car paramedics with the company that I'm with now.
Mm-hmm.
And then started to integrate full ambulance staffed during the day when we started to not have enough volunteers to staff what was needed. So we the volunteers staffed Monday through Sunday for a long time. And then we started cutting back and did just the day side during the week and have supplemental staff at night and on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's an East Coast thing or a Northeast thing. I don't know if Virginia counts as maybe the beginning of the Northeast, but man, over the years, I've heard of some extremely organized and very well structured volunteer departments, both fire and EMS. They, from Virginia, all the way up through Maine. We can't get people out here in my part of the world to work on a truck making $75,000, $80,000 a year, and you guys are somehow able to get people to volunteer. How does that work? Is that just something in the culture, or what's the motivation to go work to volunteer as a paramedic?
I think it is something in the culture. A lot of the departments around here, if you will, all started out volunteer and then started being phased out, by the county taking over EMS and fire. So, I mean, almost every county here started volunteer. And I think we're one of the last states to have a pretty high level of volunteerism still, but that's starting to fade out. And I think it's just a want to serve your community that you're living in.
That's awesome. So have you ever worked as a paid paramedic on an ambulance?
Yeah. So when I left the dispatch in 2016 to go back to school, I started as an EMT paid. And then when I got my paramedic, I started as obviously being a paid paramedic in 2019 with this company.
And so like most paramedics, I'm a paramedic, obviously. I grew up in Florida, and I wasn't really raised around guns or anything like that. And then I come out here to Oklahoma. That's where I'm at, by the way. And now it's just a part of my life. I've been here almost 20 years. I go shooting with my kids. I hunt.
Mhm.
Everybody here. It just sounds so weird because I got a lot of colleagues in Australia, and I tell them that darn near everybody in Oklahoma carries a firearm. I mean, is that a similar type of culture in Virginia?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very firearm heavy here. I have friends that hunt. I don't hunt, but I have friends that hunt, and we go to the shooting range, every so often during the year. My family's always had guns. Not a plethora of them, but like my dad's had a handgun. I got a handgun when I could, and rifles. So we've grown up around it.
Yeah, and it's again, that's another culture thing, right? I mean, like I said, I grew up in the city, and nobody in my family had guns, and now learning what it's like to truly have it, as part of the culture, it's very different. And I think a lot of people who've probably heard your story, at least, I don't know, at least from my perspective, I've kind of picked up on it a little bit, that it's very quick to judge and thinking that anything related to do with firearms uh, is breaking the law, or is
Mhm.
doing something bad or something like that. And it's clearly just it's not the case, and it's not against the law to have unsecure ammunition. It's typically against the law to have unsecured firearms, right? Especially
Mhm.
if and I think that really that's only if there's children in the house, right? So there's plenty of people that have guns around their house, but it's not uncommon to walk into a house, if firearms are a culture thing, and to have 3 green cases of ammo over there, and then maybe a whole safe of ammunition over here. I mean, that's they guns do fire ammunition, right? I mean, you got to have ammunition.
Yeah.
And if guns are such a big part of the culture where you live, where I live, ammunition is around. You might find some people might find a penny in their door compartment when they're cleaning their car out, and I might find
Mhm.
a 40 caliber Smith and Wesson round sitting there from 3 months ago when I was shooting at the range. I mean, it just seems like that's like a normal thing that might happen, and it's none of that is breaking the law, and I
Mhm.
doubt it's breaking the law in Virginia either, right?
No, and it's so foreign to people that aren't around it all the time, especially from other countries. And I mean, we walk into houses all the time where there's guns laying on the counters, or people that don't have kids, but like you get older people that just have their rifle laying out or their pistol laying out, and
Oh
they
yeah,
call 911. So I mean, it's all over the place.
yeah. And so, tell me about this company that you work for. I kind of read up on it a little bit. It seems unique compared to what I've seen before. This emergency service solutions. It looks like it's something. Is it kind of ingrained with the state EMS office when it comes to like regulatory stuff for compliance within that state? What is your how do you function as a paramedic now?
Yeah, so they started in 2001 with Powhatan actually. And their whole model in the beginning and now was, we're going to come in. not overpriced and help supplement staff to counties that either don't have a fire department and EMS system, don't have volunteers, or they're starting to build that and try to help them build that up and then kind of leave after they're, after we help them create their own department. So our whole model is, it's kind of supplemental staffing, but it's turned into more than that now. We've done a lot of other things besides just 911. When the COVID came around, one of the owners actually started one of the first COVID vaccines in Virginia, clinics in Powhatan.
Mm-hmm.
So they try to get involved in stuff like that. But their main focus is supplemental staff for 911 for rural counties mostly that don't have a volunteer system or don't have a career department yet.
Oh, okay. I thought that they had something to do with like the state regulatory side of things, but they're, I don't want to say like a temp agency, but they have their own employees that then go work out at other EMS agencies who
Yeah.
are struggling to staff, like that kind of thing.
Yep. So they have their own. We have our own EMS license still. It's non-transport, so we're a licensed agency. But when we're on the county's trucks, we operate under their OMD and under their license. Our people do.
I see.
So we're very involved in, clinical decision making stuff with the OMDs and things like that.
Right,
with county
right.
leadership.
And so, are you working on a truck for them now, or are you big swinging D with them?
So they put me in a managerial role about 3 or 4 years ago as an ops manager, as they were building and trying to kind of build up the company so that they could have more of a position of making the big decisions in the background. So now they put me in a position of vice president of operations. So I have 2 ops managers under me and then all of our employees.
So
that
yes,
work on
big swinging D.
5 different counties. Yeah.
Don't ask me what that means, right? So well, that's pretty cool. And so, do they have coverage all across the state with this, or is it just a couple areas?
It's just a few areas, but they are all across the state. So we're in Powhatan, for people that know Virginia, Powhatan, Middlesex, Surrey, Amelia, and Henry County. So that's Central Virginia and East Virginia.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I only found this out a couple days ago, but it says you're a pilot? How did we get into that, and what do you do with that? Because that's super cool.
Yeah, so I unfortunately haven't flown in a long time. It's something that I'm looking to get back into this year, honestly. But when I finished my paramedic, I've always wanted to fly. Me and Dad have always talked about it. So I finally found an avenue to do it through school, to pay for it because it's expensive. And so I told my wife, or I asked her, I was like, I'm just going to go right into this right after school because I'm already in the mode of learning and being in school. So I joined Liberty University and started flying out of Hanover Airport. So I did that for almost 2 years and got my bachelor's in aviation and got my commercial pilot's license with like 250-ish hours.
And you also have
that was around the time that they offered me the vice president or the ops manager job. So I kind of switched gears again.
Yeah. And you're even instrument rated. And what kind of airframes were you flying?
It was small airframe, so Cessna, light multi-engine aircrafts. Wasn't into like the jets or anything yet because that takes a lot of time. But that's kind of direction I'm going. But it was small aircraft, single engine and multi-engine.
I gotcha. That's super cool, man. And it sounds like you got a real close relationship with your dad. Obviously, would we kind of get into your story? But what was it like growing up with your dad? Was he a part of your life every day, taking you to ball games and that kind of thing? And how was it growing up with him?
Yeah, our family's super close. Even our uncles and aunts. My parents have been together for I don't even know a long time, but they've been super supportive of everything that I've been doing, and they've always been a part of our lives. I mean, they've been incredible parents.
So your buddy calls you up one day and says, "I'm getting married." What kind of chain of events happens from there?
Yeah, so he I think we might have been with him when he was talking about it, but he's like, for my bachelor party, I think it would be really cool to do a cruise. And I mean, we were all for it. I've never been on a cruise before, so he pitched the idea, and then a few weeks later he comes back and he set up the cruise to go to Haiti. So we're all kind of like, yeah, that'll be fun, but a little reluctant because at the time there was a lot of civil unrest in Haiti. And so, but we still agreed. And then a few months later, they changed the itinerary because of that to the Turks and Caicos. And he was just ecstatic because, I mean, all the pictures you see of that place is just beautiful. And there's a tourist area, it's a cruise place. So we were just excited to go because we were hesitant about Haiti, and now we're going to this place that just looks 10 times better than Haiti.
Oh, I bet. Was it just a single destination of Haiti, or was it like bouncing around from island to island?
It was a single destination.
Who would want to take a cruise ship to Haiti?
Uh,
That doesn't even make it. That doesn't. I mean, even be. I know that right around this time period, you're talking like spring of 24, right? Where we have, their president basically, the fall of their entire country basically, and he skips town and leaves the country, and the whole country kind of gets taken over by gangs, right? And that's when I think it was Southwest Airlines and Spirit Airlines were, were getting shot at, and then they closed all the American. I don't know if they closed all of the airlines, but most people stopped flying there. I don't know if you saw that story I did with that guy Tony, who owns a Tropic Air Rescue. You got to check out that story. But he, where there was a celebrity, this guy named Mitch Albom, who was basically stuck down there, and this dude had to do like a helicopter rescue with a medevac helicopter out of the Fort Lauderdale area.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it sounds like all that was taking place at the same time. So then he finds out you guys are going to Turks and Caicos, and now he's more excited because who wants to go to a third world war zone?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. And so how big's the gang? Is it just the two of you, or is it a whole bunch of you?
It was a whole bunch of us. It was four that I knew, and then there was three others that I had just met at the time of the trip. One of our other good friends, and then one of his good friends that I've met a couple times, and then two others that I had met at the time of the trip.
So yeah, man. So kind of walk us through it from there. So you're living in Virginia, and you got to get to a boat. How do you get to the boat, and how does this whole terrible thing unfold?
Yeah. So so we got to get to Miami. We all live in Virginia. Well, three of us live in Virginia. The others came from other places in the country. So obviously when we have to fly there, I have to have a carry-on and a checked-in luggage. So I just pulled out a backpack from the closet I hadn't used in a long time, and went through that to pack as a carry-on. Pulled out my my luggage that I always use and packed that. Looked through my carry-on because I knew that it being on the plane, TSA is not going to let anything prohibited through, nor do I want to have anything prohibited go through it. So I checked that, pack it, get ready the night before, and then we left early morning. I think it was a Wednesday, to go to Miami. So we go through, check our bags in, go through airport security with our carry-ons. They put it through the scanner. We go through the body scanner, and we get on the plane with no problems.
Which airport
Land in Miami.
did you leave from?
It was Richmond.
So Richmond, Virginia. That's your point of entry, and where all your stuff first gets scanned.
Yeah, I think we flew into Fort Lauderdale or Miami. I can't remember where we flew into, and they picked us up. I think it was Fort Lauderdale, but
Mm-hmm.
and then he picked us up and brought us near where the cruise port was. But
Did you guys go depart from that big Miami port that's just south of South Beach, or right there at Fort Lauderdale?
No, it was right there at Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. So was there like 30 cruise ships or like two?
It was like two.
Yeah. That's probably that. There's a really cool port right on the east side of Fort Lauderdale. It's just 10 miles north of the one at Miami, but it's pretty cool.
Okay.
I mean, it's a sight to behold, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. And I mean, he's Cuban, or that's his nationality. So he took us to all the Cuban restaurants down there.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we spent the day and the evening in Miami just doing the bachelor party things and having fun that night and staying up late. And then the next day was going to be that evening, Thursday evening was going to be when we departed. So we spent Wednesday and Thursday most of the day in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So when it was time to depart on Thursday, the way that they do it is it's like you're on this boardwalk or sidewalk right in front of the cruise ship, and they have security take your checked luggage in this kind of like a hotel baggage thing, and they roll all that inside to your rooms, and then you can have a carry-on on the cruise ship if you wanted. So I had my backpack still from the airport and from the hotel, and so we go through the same type of security. They have scanners. They don't have body scanners, but they've got the belt scanners that x-ray your bags.
Yeah, yeah.
So we put that through and then went through the metal detectors and got on the boat, no problem. Which was amazing. I mean, I'd never been on a cruise, and it was just like extravagant in my opinion.
What was the name of that boat? I know it was Royal Caribbean, but what was it was the Independence
That
of the
was
Seas.
Independence of the Seas.
And that's one of their super big ones, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know all their ships, but I mean, to me it was. But
standing next to those things, I mean, for people who have never been on a cruise, first time you're standing on the dock and you're looking at it, it's got to be like when they were looking at the Titanic or whatever. It's got to be awe-inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. And inside they've just got, I mean, it looks like a different world when you walk in there. Just carpeted chandeliers, however many floors with casinos and restaurants and a full mall and pools on top, and it's pretty crazy. So we put our bags down and basically just went right to the pool because we, of course, as a bachelor party, got the drink package. So that's was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
the first night. Yeah.
How good's the drink package? Is that like all you can drink for the entire boat? You don't have to pay anything?
Yeah, it's pretty much all you can drink the entire day.
God.
They try to say that they'll limit your hourly drinks, but I mean, it's worth the money if
That
that's
sounds like a good idea at the beginning. It sounds like that could go that could go south.
It can go south.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so you guys go to the pool and you start slamming them back right away and just trying to take a load off.
Yeah, just having fun. 2 a.m. pizza, all those types of things. We walking on the top of the cruise at night just because it's cool and pretty outside, and doing the casinos, just having fun that night and the next day, because the next day was just another day at sea on Friday. And then on Saturday, we get to Turks and Caicos, which was, super exciting. So we step off the ship. They don't do any checks coming off the ship. So I brought my backpack to carry everybody's stuff, their sunglasses and stuff like that, whatever. And it's just beautiful. The clearest blue water you can imagine. The beaches were just beautiful. And we go out there and rent 2 golf carts to explore the island, which we didn't know how tiny it was. I mean, you're talking 7 miles was the whole island. So we start out on the golf carts. It's like 4 of us on each one or so, and we start driving, and I mean, there's just nothing. It's just super run down and not what you would think of a tropical island on the inside. So we went halfway up the island, and we ended up turning back around and going to one of the beach bars, because at the tail end of the island is basically cruise central. So whenever the cruise boats are in, they have all the bars open and all the entertainment that you can do there, like volleyball and stuff like that, open. But they close all that when the ships aren't there.
And so how long
So anyway,
are
we
you
went
guys
to
supposed to be staying on this island? Is it this is just a day thing?
It's just a day.
Hmm.
Yeah, we were gonna do a day and then a day at sea Sunday, and then back in Miami on Monday. Yeah, so we went back to one of the popular beach bars, and my friend can talk to anybody basically. I mean, he's just he doesn't care. He can talk to anybody, and So he was getting with the bartenders and, getting drinks for us and people around getting drinks for them and just having fun with everybody, eating real like Jamaican food just because that was the trend down there. Um and we played, we swam in the water and ended up playing volleyball with this local kid, which was a lot of fun because he was just kicking our butts and we couldn't keep up with him. And so after a day, basically the whole day of just playing on the beach and having fun and forgetting about things back home, we started heading back to the cruise ship. And one thing I hadn't done when I left the cruise ship was to get international service because I didn't think I would need it.
Oh,
So
like get a different SIM card or something like that, or
yeah,
say something to your
yeah.
cell phone company.
So I didn't turn it on because they said the Wi-Fi at the beaches was enough to get some service. So I was like, well, I don't need it for a day. But I just happened to, while I was at the beach, text, or I think I used Wi-Fi to text my dad or call him and asked him to get it for me, like 5 hours before we left the beach to get on the cruise ship because I just wanted to have it. Um, so I ended up doing that, and then we did our thing on the beach, and then we left for the cruise ship.
Let me
Uh,
let me pull up this map real quick. I want to make sure that I'm looking at the same thing. This is you're over
yeah.
here on Grand Turk, right? You're not over at these islands.
Yes.
So
Right.
you're over here at Grand Turk, and you guys port down here
Yep.
on the south.
Yep. And then that's the cruise port shops right there where that Target
Right.
is.
So this whole area right here, at least in my experience in the Caribbean, this whole area right here is probably a complete madhouse
Oh yeah.
while you guys are off the boat. And there
Yeah.
might be another boat there too, right?
Yeah. It only fits 2,
Right.
I believe. Yeah.
And so you guys get a golf cart though, and you check out this
Yeah.
whole
Where that
island
middle part is probably where we stopped
right about here.
because
Somewhere.
all that is like a swamp area.
Hmm. Yeah, it's. I don't know if you've been to other islands down there either before or since, but in my experience with a lot of these islands in the Caribbean, a lot of them are like that. Man, they got that tourist area, and then
Yeah.
it's just extreme poverty
It's, yeah.
in a lot of the other
They live off
places.
of the cruise port
Right,
and
right.
everybody coming in. Yeah. But that was my first experience with the Caribbean. My dad had been, but I'd never been.
Gotcha. So you guys take the golf cart and you think that you're going to go explore paradise, and it just kind of just looks like the end of the world, or looks like
Yeah.
run down country out in the middle of the islands.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's hard to explain to somebody that hasn't seen it before, but I mean, you have, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
just,
it
it's
took
kind
me.
of sad.
I've been to Saint Martin, and another one would be like Isla Mujeres in Mexico, and like you're talking two totally different worlds, right? French and Dutch in Saint Martin, and then obviously Mexico with Isla Mujeres, and they're the same thing.
Yeah.
It's you have that beautiful area that is completely funded by tourism or the boats or something like that, but then the rest of the island is just, it's crooked, it's gangster. There's a lot of I don't want to say mob mentality, but there's just a lot of shadiness going on, and everybody's poor, and there's a lot of trash. I don't know if Turks was like that, but every island that I've been to, there's always a section of the island that is just completely covered in trash, and nobody manages it or takes care of it. So yeah, you do feel a little let down, but obviously the actual beach area typically looks like paradise. So that's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
so you're kind of a little let down, and you guys start heading back to the boat.
Yeah. So we start heading back to the boat. There's a line to get back on the boat, obviously, because everybody's getting back at the same time, like 5-ish p.m., 6 p.m. And coming back on the boat, they put everybody's bag through the scanner. They have their own scanner on the boat when you step on the boat.
So you're on the boat. You're not on the dock.
Mhm. Yeah, on the boat, off the dock. And they have like I guess it's a smaller version of their airport scanner type of deal. So the guy in front of me was my friend. He put his through, or he went through the metal detector, and then I put my bag through or walked through the metal detector, And then the guy's trying to get my attention. So I look behind me, and he kind of raises my bag up, and he's like, "Hey, is this your bag?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's mine." And so he puts it through the scanner again. Actually, no, he digs through it and pulls out one bullet. And so I kind of like, I didn't really know what to feel. I don't think at the time I was a little shocked, and I knew that it wasn't a good thing, but I was like, it's one bullet. Like, it was an accident. So
But
he
you
puts it through the
did you
scanner.
instantaneously know that that was your bullet?
No, I didn't.
Mm.
It just knew that it was there, and then he pulled it out of my bag. I didn't know at the time that it was mine. I assumed it, but I had different thoughts after this whole thing started to pan out. But he puts it through again, and then pulls out another one, almost like he had to try to find it through the scanner. And then he puts it through a third time, and he gives me or he might have held onto the bag, but he kind of pulled me inside and was like, "Hey, we're gonna go check your room, just to make sure everybody's safe."
And this
So
this
they didn't
guy's a
indicate
Royal
anything.
Caribbean guy, or is he a Turks guy?
This is the Royal Caribbean security guy.
He's an employee of Royal Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
there was no Turks police or security there at the time of this, because we were on the boat. So he brings me and two of my friends back to our room, the ones that were staying in the room, and they start a search of the room. And so that we sit on the bed, and they're searching the room, kind of uneasy, because they're not really telling us anything except that they just need to search the room, make sure everybody's safe. This is just routine. Um, so they do that search. It probably lasted like, I don't know, 20-ish minutes. And they tell me that I'm going to have to go outside and talk to the police. And so I didn't know any better. I just followed them out there
and
because,
outside means get off the boat.
yeah. So off the boat, back onto the dock. And I think I was with the head of security. I can't be sure, but I think that's the one that searched my room. Um, he was definitely outside on the dock at the time that I went out there. But so I went out there. There was an officer standing with me. He wasn't asking me anything yet. I was just standing there. My bag was next to me on the ground, and then there was two plainclothes people behind him that were just talking and had a evidence bag in their hand. Um, and the officer started asking me a couple questions at the time, just if I knew how the bullets got in there, or if they were in there. Of course, I said no. My bag was on the beach for unattended for however long. And then I saw I think it was a Royal Caribbean security guy, come out with a letterhead confidential written on it, piece of paper. And he brought it to the deputies, or the detectives, I can only assume, because they were plainclothes. And he started asking me questions, and I ended up saying that I had a concealed carry permit at home. And that's when things kind of started to move really, really fast. And I asked the officer, because their whole tone changed when I said that. So I asked the officer in front of me if I was being arrested, and he didn't answer me at first. And then I saw the ramp behind me go up.
Oh God. But I remember you said about that exact moment, you said something like, reaching, when you told him about your concealed, that you reaching for some form of explanation that, I don't know, you thought might make sense or something like that.
Yeah.
Because, it would make sense to you, right? But this is the book. Hold on, I'll put it up here. Make sure what does it say? 2 bullets, 12 years. There's the 2 bullets, and there's the boat. But this has 2 authors, right? We got your name down there.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of unique because my dad obviously was separated from me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had my own perspective, especially the first 2 weeks because I wasn't with him. And then afterwards, during the whole ordeal, and then he had his own perspective. So we kind of wrote it that way to where I give my perspective, he gets his.
Yeah, it was an interesting read, and so it's already interesting to hear you kind of elaborate on some of the things, because when you write stuff, you can't put everything in the book, otherwise the
Yeah.
book's going to be 400,000 pages long, right? But I think that I got this from Amazon. Is that where people go to get it, or is there another place where do they go to get this book?
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's just on Amazon. There's a ebook version and a paper copy that you can order
Got
on
it.
Amazon.
2 Bullets, 12 years. Find it on Amazon. So you turn around, and I don't think that you put that in the book, because this is the first time I heard you say that you see the ramp. What a symbolic visual that must have been, to see the ramp being pulled up.
Yeah. And at that time, I knew something. I mean, you can't really figure out what's going on during the whole process, but at that time, I knew something was off. So I asked him again, pretty firmly, if I was being arrested, and he said yes. And so I kind of stopped talking about things, and I asked the Royal Caribbean security guy standing next to him. I said, "Hey, can I just go into the boat jail essentially and not stay here since I was on the boat?" And he just kind of shook his head no. And so now I'm just kind of frantic. How do I tell my friends that I'm going to be stuck here? And at the time, I'm just thinking it can't be but a few days, because it's 2 bullets, right?
Where
I'm
are
still
your
frantic.
friends right now?
They're on the boat.
Are they looking down at you? Can they see you? Do they know what's going on?
No, they didn't know what was going on. So the 2 of them were in the room, I assume, or they were trying to find the others to let them know what was going on. So I called my friend first, I think, and I told him that I wasn't getting back on the boat, and they were taking me to jail.
Oh my
And
God.
he said that he's like, "All right, I'm coming out." So I hung up with him right away, and then I tried calling my dad, because I wanted somebody to know what was going on right away, and if anybody could do anything, it was him. I just knew that. So I tried to get a call out to him with my phone. It won't go through. So I texted him, and I think it's in the book, but I said something along the lines of, like, "Hey, I'm being arrested in Turks and Caicos. They found 2 bullets in my bag." And he just asked what I needed. And then I I asked the officer if I could use his phone, and luckily he let me, and I could get a call through to him for like just a little bit to tell him what was going on. And yeah, they took my stuff. They took the phone. That was the last call I could make at the time. They put me in cuffs and walked me down the boardwalk while everybody up on the ship was
Oh
watching,
my God.
just kind of egging them on, and oh, you got drugs, and that kind of thing. Like, they don't know what's going on, so
Yeah, they're just talking shit.
yeah,
Oh my God.
basically.
So,
So
at this point, though, does it seem like that Royal Caribbean guy just completely threw you under the bus, and they're just making this a local problem and not a boat problem? I guess I wish I was more of an expert on like maritime law, and obviously when you're in their country, right, you're beholden to their laws. Got it. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
But when all this was, you're on their boat though. And like, do they have an obligation, or what would possess that Royal Caribbean guy to go and, like, I don't know, rat you out without doing like an investigation and trying to figure out where those bullets came from? I don't know. Maybe that seems like a simple answer, and maybe I just don't know how it works with maritime law and stuff like that. But it certainly seems like they could have just held you to their own policies of their boat or something like that. And maybe if it was a crime to take the bullets on the boat itself, held you there or something and dealt with it back at the States. I just don't know. Maybe, have you looked back? I mean, it's been almost 2 years to try to figure out what is the standard policy for if they find out that you committed some type of crime while on the island, but now you're on the boat. How do they decide who to give up and who not to give up?
Yeah, so we went in this whole rabbit hole after the fact, and to the way I understood it is they have some discretion as to what they do, especially I think the captain, but I'd have to look again. But um, since it happened, off their island kind of and on the boat, it's still technically in the island's territory, but the boat has some authority onto whether they pass it on to law enforcement or not. Their policies say that they will pass it on to law enforcement if you break a law on the island. So, I mean, I think there's some gray area discretion there, but
So, like, what if you stole a bag of Cheetos, man? You stole a bag of Cheetos at the gas station, and then you get on the boat, and then the Turks cops show up to the boat and say, "Hey, we think this guy in here stole some Cheetos." Like, are they gonna turn you over? Or
it's like it's the locals' problem at that point. I don't know.
Mm.
Um,
But nonetheless,
but
they threw you under the bus, and now they're perp walking you down the dock in front of what, thousands of people up on the on the
yeah,
top and
and
in their rooms, and oh my god, what a terrible feeling. So now what? Where do we go from here?
they didn't take the time either to interview me, the security. They just handed me over to the
The,
police.
yeah, that's what it was like. There was no here. Let's sit down here. Um, Start at the beginning. How did these bullets get here? Please explain to us. Because once you found the second bullet somewhere in there, you must have realized, oh shit, man, those are from shooting 3 months ago
Yeah.
or something. I mean, right? I
Yeah.
mean, at some point you had to realize that those were yours.
Yeah, I mean, I assumed it, but as you go down that path, later on of how serious this actually is, even though I didn't know it at the time, and then you start thinking, well, my bag was sitting there for 2 hours on the beach. Like maybe I don't want to say they are mine. Um, and that was one of the conversations I had with the lawyer, which I'll share in a little bit. But at that time, I didn't have any doubts that they were mine. When sitting at the dock when they pulled them out. But yeah, they walked me down to the police car sitting at the end of the dock, put me in there, and then the only comment I remember the officer making was that this wasn't good. And so that's just another added thing to my brain of what's going on because I don't know how serious this is. In my mind, I'll be out in a couple of days on a plane back home, and this is just a misunderstanding. Um, so they take me to their local jail, which isn't far away. I mean, you're talking, I don't know, 5 minutes, if that, because it's such a small island.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a small, rundown building. I mean, it looks kind of like um, a dungeon, honestly, just because it's just that's just the theme there is just kind of poor, which is unfortunate. But so they walked me in there. They put my suitcase and my bag down in a holding area, and we inventory everything. You asked me if I want a lawyer. You go through that whole spiel, and there wasn't any real direction as to what I could and couldn't do. So he, we do the inventory and we go through some gates to the prison cells or the jail cells, and it's just a cement wall, cement hallway, no heat, no AC, so it's super hot at the time and dark. They just had hall lights on, no cell lights, and then he kind of inspects the cells and picks one for me to go into, and it's just two concrete bunks, a toilet on the back end, and a cement floor, and that was it.
Did you see any other inmates or anything at that
Not at the
point, or
time.
you're on your
There's
own?
more came the next day, like a couple. But you're talking a small island, so I mean the crime is high in the big island. It's not as high on the smaller island.
Mhm.
So there wasn't as many. I mean, there was none when I got there, and then there was probably one or two within the few days that I was there.
Were you thinking? Did you know that this was a British island and that basically they kind of fall under the sovereignty of the UK? Did you know that at the time, or did you think like this was by this point you were like, what kind of corrupt place did I find myself in, or did you know that it was British at the time?
I didn't at the time. I knew pretty quickly afterwards, but not at the time of being there
Mm.
until I got out to do some research.
Dude, I don't know what I would have thought. at that time when I mean, they like, do you remember hearing the cell doors slam, so to speak, and now you're sitting in there and now what?
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of at a loss for words. I mean, sulking's not the right word, but just constant worry and wonder of what's next, I guess is the right way to describe that. I mean, I had no idea what to think. All I knew was that dad knew I was there, so someone was doing something because I couldn't do anything. Um, so that night, um, I just got through it. I mean, I didn't know what to do until I could talk to him. And actually, I was able to talk to him that night with the officer's phone, and he told me he was working on getting a lawyer. So that kind of helped me. Someone's doing something to figure this out, essentially.
Right,
Even though
right.
I'm in this crappy situation.
And so the cell, what's the bed like? Is it like a concrete slab that's hanging from the wall, or is there like,
Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. It's just it's a concrete slab like this on the wall.
yeah,
Um,
and that's what you slept on that night?
yeah, I didn't have anything. And like I said, they didn't give me any direction. So I mean, I slept on that with my shoes because that's all I had to use for some support. Um,
So 4 or 5 nights you're sitting in there, and how do things start progress with your dad, trying to get an attorney and trying to solve this problem?
their attorney showed up on Sunday and was going to, you know, be my attorney for the whole thing, essentially. So I sat down with him. They pulled me out and said, "The attorney's here." I sat down with him. And right as I was about to sign some paperwork, because I needed an attorney, the officer walked in and said, "Hey, your dad's on the phone. Do you want to talk to him?" So I stopped myself for a minute. I walked out, got on the phone. It was pretty emotional just hearing his voice again. Um, and he said, "Hey, I've got our lawyer on the phone that we're going to use. So I'm going to patch him in, or he's going to patch him in." And so I started talking to the lawyer. Um, at this point, I still don't know the 12-year thing yet.
And is this an American attorney that your dad found in the States? I mean, your main attorney did it end up being Sheena? Was that
Yeah, it was Sheena. Yeah,
it
well, she lived in Grand Turk. She was originated in Ireland, but she was a Grand Turk attorney, essentially.
and so how do you go from where did that first, law firm, was that an American firm that your dad found?
No, he was searching firms down in Grand Turk and found that one and one other one. I think it was Oliver, and I think it might have been a cost thing at that point, honestly. But actually, no, it wasn't. He contacted both of them,
Right, right.
and they were the only ones to call him back on a Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, that really kinda, I wouldn't say it changes the story, but that's such an interesting part of the story to learn that Sheena was, that she lives there,
Hmm.
um, and what a great advocate in the end she ended up seeming like she was
Yeah,
for you. So
definitely.
so you get on the phone with this attorney, and do you think the problems are all solved? He's like, "You're gonna be good by tomorrow, man. We're all good. Don't worry about it." Or is he painting a terrible picture?
No, and he was a little vague because we didn't have a lot of time. I did not get the impression that everything was going to be okay. Essentially, I just knew that somebody was going to be doing something. I had somebody now that dad picked out. Um, so it was still a very uncertain time as far as what was going to happen.
So he's walking you through your options and is telling you that, yeah, dude, ask for a shower.
Yeah, he just asked about my hygiene and asked about if I was being taken care of and stuff like that. And I didn't even know that was an option at the time, so I took it. Obviously, it's one thing. I asked the officer, "Can I do that now?" And I mean, they obliged. Obviously, it was
And he was like, "Well, yeah, why didn't you just ask? You've been sitting here for
yeah,
5
pretty
days. If you needed a shower or a toothbrush, why didn't you say something, dumbass?"
yeah.
And then he gives you everything.
Well, so he gives me the shower area, and there was some soap in there that he gave me. So I took a shower. Didn't have a towel, which whatever it is, what it is. I used what I could. I have my shirt that I used after the shower to dry myself off out of my luggage. And then I went back to my cell after that, and tried to just get through Sunday night and Monday before the lawyers were going to get there on Tuesday. So Tuesday comes around after I endured those nights. Same sleep situation. I didn't have anything during those nights. And the lawyer comes around, I don't know, 10, 11 on Tuesday, and Irish speaking, super compassionate, sits down with me, and now I'm starting to really realize how much trouble I'm in because she explains everything about the law, and she's like, firearms and ammunition falls under the same law. It doesn't matter how much, it doesn't matter what. It's a 12-year minimum sentence unless they find exceptional circumstances. And the judges are now required to sentence you to some time and a fine instead of differentiating between either a fine or jail time.
And this is Sheena that told you this?
Yeah, she was my attorney.
And how are you? Is she telling you this in person or over the phone?
Yeah, this is in person. She's
And
there.
And how do you take this? Like you say that, or she says that, and are you like, dude, are you kidding me? Or
yes, but I was pretty devastated at the time because honestly, my family just went through my head, and I just can't even imagine that amount of time for something that I see as so small that this happening. She talked about the year before an American that got caught with, I think it was 20 rounds, but I have to look at my notes. And he was there for 8 months. He got sentenced to 8 months the fall before. So she was telling me that to tell me, you're probably not going to be here for 12 years, but there is the potential of that. And there's also a potential of, you're probably going to spend a few months in prison for this because that's what they're doing now.
And that other guy was like, the first guy, was that Grimm?
Yeah, Michael
was the guy from Boston. And, after reading the book, it seemed like, obviously a terrible thing for that dude, right? I mean, he did spend, he did spend 8 months. And then there obviously ended up being these other people, including yourself. But I feel like when you go back and kind of look at the media and the outrage and the coverage that ended up happening, I feel like it was triggered by a story out of Boston covering him. And it almost made me think, like, if he was never covered, if that never happened to him, it's almost like they were making an example out of him. Yeah. It's kind of the way it seemed. You could have been the one, the first one, right, that made an example. And it's almost like, it's almost like your story and the other guy who was here from Oklahoma, which is how I first heard about it. It was almost like the media didn't even really seem to care. It was more that, look, this is happening again. That's why this is so bad, because maybe they kind of ignored the first one a little bit. And it wasn't until it started piling on. So it's almost like, God, I'm sorry that dude had to go through that, but it kind of seemed to open the eyes of Americans and the media to like the problem that was going on down there. At least that's the way it seemed from my end.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And I think the fact that there was originally 3 and then it ended up being 4, including myself, all involved in the same thing at the same time was pretty
everybody did say it was 4, but I came up with 5. I think I came up with 5. There was you, there was the guy from Oklahoma, which was Ryan. There was Grimm. There was a guy named Brian Hegerich. But did you hear about Sharita?
Sharita was the other one with us down there. Yep.
So so I think so she was, you've met her and she was down there going through this at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Brian, Ryan, and Sharita were all so they were on the main island during this whole ordeal, but they were all down there. Like, she came towards the end and started getting involved because she got in the same mess that we did, but
right,
it ended up being 4 of us at the same time on the islands.
So anyway, so she tells you, like, look, dude, they just threw this dude in the slammer for 8 months. Don't expect something better. But let's figure this out.
Yeah. And I told her at that time, just to try to reach for something that would get me out of it, was like that. I didn't even know if they were my bullets because, I mean, anybody could have put them in there. And she was like, if you go down that road of trying not to be guilty, this is going to go on for months because they'll go to trial and all these other things. Because if you plead not guilty, they put it through trial, just like I guess we do, but and it'll go on for months to over a year. So she said, you need to, no matter what you believe, you need to say that they're your bullets and plead guilty.
I guess one of the things that wasn't reported on in the news much is just that this law that you're talking about that they're trying to apply to you, it's kind of a brand new law. It's only a couple years old. I think it originated in 2022, or maybe whatever their law was got changed in 2022. Not to get into the politics of like necessarily gun laws or something like that, but it sounds unique that if you're gonna make a gun law, or if you're gonna make a gun law so hardcore, I don't understand how separating the ammunition, it could be included as the same thing as having the actual firearm or committing a crime with the firearm. Because, in the United States, the TSA, I think their stats that I had, they pull like 20 guns a day out of people's bags and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of bullets. Like, it is not an uncommon occurrence. I know that I've been caught with a knife that I forgot was in the bag, and the post office makes a bunch of money on it because they got that super expensive post office machine that sits there at the TSA at most airports, where, if you get caught with a lighter, a real expensive lighter or a knife or something like that, where you can spend like $80 and put it in the post office box right there and like mail it back to your house. I don't think they let you do that with bullets, but I don't think that, it hasn't proven to be a problem in the United States in terms of causing death or harm to somebody, right? Thousands and thousands of bullets caught every year by the TSA, 15 to 20 guns a day. And I would bet 99.9%, if not 100%, they were all mistakes. Oops, I left that in my bag, or something like that. And so I'm curious, even though it was, why would they make this law, or what have you found since then? What was the motivation to boost this law to a mandatory 12 years just for having bullets?
Yeah. So the research that we did, and I don't have the statistics, I meant to get them before the podcast, but their crime rate and their murder rate is so high because of their population and immigrants coming from Jamaica, that the law that was changed was that instead of the judge being able to give a fine or jail time, they put all that together and they said, no, you have to give some jail time. And unless there's exceptional circumstances, whatever they deem those are, it has to be a minimum of 12 years and a fine. So the crime was just so bad that they felt like they had to do something about it. And that was their solution.
It seems like a knee-jerk solution, and you find yourself caught right in the middle of it. So she's telling you this, like, look, dude, you're going to serve some time, and where does it go from there?
Yeah. So after that, she said, we're going to go up and they're going to charge you, essentially, because you're just detained at that point, I guess, kind of like you think of here. So they bring me, she brings me up there. She tells me, this is what you need to say. You just need to be honest and answer the question. So we go up there, meet the head detective, I guess, lead detective. And she goes through, the demographic questions. And then she goes through a couple interview questions, time of day, all that stuff, where was your bag at? And then she says, hey, we're going to show you something on the screen, and then I'm going to ask you a question. So there's TV next to me, and they pop the bullets up on the screen. And it was that moment that, like, I was 100% sure that those were my bullets, because it was a tool ammo practice, the target round bullet, and then it was a hollow point brass bullet. And I just thought in my head, I was like, those are definitely mine. Like, there's no way anybody put that there.
Yeah. So when you go shooting, it is common, especially if you go shooting with the gun that you carry, I mean, at least that's what I do, right? You've got 8, 9, 10, 15 rounds of some type of personal protection round, which you called like a hollow point, right? But we don't shoot with those at the range, right? So you go to the range, you take those out of the gun and you set them aside, or you set them in your bag, right? And then you shoot a couple hundred rounds of this crap ammo, because hollow points, cost 5 times as much, right? And it's just a waste. It's a waste of money, waste of resources. So then you clean your gun and everything, and then you put the bullets back. And oftentimes we might be off by one. Did I leave one in the chamber, or did I not do that last time? And so maybe you're used to putting 9 bullets in, and this time you only put in 8, right? I mean, that's a pretty common thing for me. That kind of thing that would happen when you guys would go to the range.
Yeah, and I mean, I can imagine, after the fact that switching ammo that's where I emptied my ammo at, in that pocket that they found it at, and it just fell. Well, I know it fell between the seams, in that pocket. I mean, it's pen width length on the sides of that pocket that they fell in. So that's what I assumed happened, is I was changing ammo to shoot and then changing it back to carry with me after the range.
And so they put this up on the screen like a gotcha moment, like, dude, we got you by the balls. Here's your bullets. They're right here on the screen.
Yeah. So they, I obviously admit that they're mine. 1, because Sheena told me to, and 2, because it's true. They were. And so, and then they give me the paperwork, the charge paperwork. And I go back down to talk to the lawyer again, which is just emotional. She was very compassionate and empathetic. And so that was one thing that really helped me to kind of get some comfort, I guess, knowing that somebody actually cared about this case. It wasn't just another, typical attorney as you would think of them. And then, back to my cell. And then probably 30 minutes later, Dad gets there. And so they bring me out after the holding, your dad's here, and he comes in, and we can't even compose ourselves. We're just emotional. And I haven't seen this guy cry, but probably once in my life, and now 2. And so we're just emotional, talking, and just trying to make sense of everything together now. And he tells me how everybody's doing, which relatively was rough, but they're getting through at home. And I kind of tell him some things that I need, that while I'm there, so he can go out and get them and come back, because the next day was going to be the magistrate hearing, where they would bring me to the prison on the same island,
which is a separate kind of so you were basically kind of in a holding area at this, at the main area, and now they're going to throw you in with Gen Pop.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought at the time too.
Yeah.
I mean, that is where the general population is, but but yeah, that day was emotional. I get through that night. The next day, I go through the magistrate hearing. Dad's there, and the attorney is virtual, because she's got to fly between islands, right? So she's on the main island, and then I'm on that little tiny island. So every time she's got to come see me, she's got to fly over. So we do that virtually, and then they gave me a few minutes with Dad, and they send me off to the big prison. I mean, as big as that little island has.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I think
So
there
how
was
many
like
people
100
were in the big prison?
I think it was 100 some, like 130 or something like that. It's not a ton of people.
And you got people in there serving crimes for murder, for
Everything, all of the above, murder, rape. I mean, everything you can think of. Which I assumed, but I didn't know till you start talking to people when you're in there. So they bring me there. It's just a big compound. I mean, essentially rundown compound. There's pictures of it online. The front of it, you can kind of get a picture of it, but
yeah, it doesn't
there,
look like much. Like when you're looking at the front of it, right? It looks like maybe a rundown old hotel kind of.
I mean, I'll give credit to the officers. Like, they were super nice, essentially. I mean, at the prison, they walked you through everything, which was good. They at least gave me some information. You're using all your own stuff for the most part. as far as clothes go. So they get me checked in, do the search, which was humiliating, something I never thought I'd have to go through, the body search or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they provided a mattress, a little thin mattress, some towels and stuff like that, for your stay there, essentially. And they say you're going to go to a quarantine area because they were still quarantining for COVID. So they do that for, I think it was a week. Yeah, 7 days minimum. So they bring me, which was actually a good thing in the long run because it wasn't in general population. So but it was in the area that they have solitaire essentially. So people that do something they're not supposed to go there too. So I was there with probably 8 other people, but I was fortunate enough to get a cell by myself. So they had, 6 cells and then a shower area in that little tiny outbuilding outside. So I, kind of made my mattress bed up there and tried to settle for the night because all they had in there was a window to the outside, a wood shutter to shut that window, a toilet, and then a hose spigot to wash your clothes and your plates and stuff with a bucket in that cell.
Let's take a look here. Is this this is what I saw in the book, right?
Yeah, that's the front. Yeah.
And is this over here? Is this like two floors of cells?
I think so. Yeah, and there's some administration buildings in there too because I did one hearing in there for my bail hearing.
Yeah. And so what is it, does it feel like you're in a third world country prison? You probably haven't been in a prison in the United States, but most paramedics typically end up going into a jail to pick people up. I mean, does it feel worse than something in the United States or?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was. I mean, in the United States, you walk in these jails, they have AC, they have tile flooring. It seems a lot more put together. I mean, this was out in the open essentially, with no protection, just hot. I mean, no AC, and so it was completely different. I mean, all cement. It felt very foreign to me. Obviously.
Yeah, I thought that you mentioned in the book that there was, or maybe it was something that your dad said, that there was some human violations or something related to the humane treatment of prisoners there. That this place is listed as no good. Is that still the case,
Yeah.
or was that the case?
Yes, as far as I know, that's still the case.
Hmm.
I can't remember the terminology off the top of my head, but it's listed as inhumane essentially.
So you had to quarantine, but did you end up getting to the point where you had a cellmate or anybody else to talk to or anything like that?
So they were all out in the open, kind of. I mean, the cells were closed and they're next to each other, and then you had cells in front of you closed, so you could talk to each other. I didn't have a cellmate. I'm kind of thankful for that, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
But we got out for an hour every day, and we were able to kind of mingle with each other. But when I first got there, I mean, it was taunt after taunt after taunt for the first night. So I kind of just stuck to myself and
Just
did the same
barking at
thing.
you from
Yeah. Yeah.
what, like 5 feet away in their cell?
Mhm. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
and
Because I
were
was
they
the
threatening
only
you?
white guy there.
So these guys are a lot of
Um,
Jamaicans and Islanders,
Yeah.
and Pretty Tyler comes in and they're just letting you have it. That's got to be scary
Yeah.
as hell, dude. I don't know if I could hold up, man. I don't know, man.
And
I'd give up. I'd start crying or screaming. I don't think I'm as tough as I like to think I am.
yeah, and I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I don't know. I pushed through it, and I think the only thing that got me through all of that was knowing that someone was working on a way out, and I had, my faith to fall back on, and kind of have some hope there that, my first few nights of there were, please get me out of here, right? Like that's how I was praying, please just get me out of this place because I shouldn't be here. And that turned into, after 5 nights there of if I'm gonna be stuck here, at least give me some direction as to why. Like make it mean something if I'm gonna be stuck here for this reason. Um,
Yeah, I
but
don't think that I picked up on that you were in there in the cell. That's I mean it was so that's basically solitary for 23 hours. And you said there's no air conditioning. So do you have a sink in there? Or at least you can drink enough water?
so they had a water that was actually one of the humorous things that came out of this after a few days was they'd had a water jug outside, just like you would have at work or something. And I was drinking so much water. I mean, it was so hot, and everybody kind of noticed. And one of the prisoners one day was like, told the guards, "Hey, man, why don't you just put that next to his cell because he's just drinking water all day." And so he moved it to my cell, and it became kind of a game because now I'm the one that has to fill everybody's water bottle because you can't get out of your cell. So they're throwing me the water bottles to fill up, and then you got to throw them back to them and try to make it to their cell and not miss.
Yeah, and not get the bottle stuck right in the middle of the hallway, so nobody.
Yeah, so it
nobody
was
can
kind of
reach it.
humorous. Yeah.
I mean, is that? I guess that's the better way of making friends than,
Yeah.
or getting on somebody's good side. I mean, they say when you go into those prisons, people always tell you here in the States, just walk up to the biggest dude and just try to knock his ass out. I think that's probably terrible advice, but people have
Yeah.
always kind of said that. Sounds better to find a way to fill their water bottles and maybe score
Survive, yeah.
score some points with them. And so, what about when you got out for a day? Was it then like you're mingling with them out in the kind of that courtyard area there, or
Yeah,
what
it
are you
was,
doing?
courtyard area. So you're outside at least. I mean, you're outside the whole time, kind of, but you're actually out. Can look at the sky and look outside. And a lot of them played dominoes, and there was a basketball court that you could shoot basketball if you wanted to. Take a shower at that time. That was the time to take a shower if you need to take a shower. But you only had an hour to do all those things. So I kind of kept to myself the whole time for the most part, but and wrote down things so I could remember.
Did any of these guys, what you in for, white boy? Did they do any of that, or were you, or did they all know? Was it on the news at that point, or did you just kind of like not even talk about it?
So they did that in the beginning, kind of in a taunting way, and then as the days went on, my dad started to visit and tell me some of the things that were happening because my plan was just going to be to stay there because if I had to get bail and get out and have to go back, I didn't know if I could handle that. So I was just going to stay, and whatever time I had to do, I was just going to do it instead of postpone that. And so when he started to visit and start telling me, the media's involved, the governor's involved, all these state officials are involved. And, he basically told me the first day that he came or that weekend, he was like, you need to get out and try to be a part of this because there's some stuff happening that you need to be a part of to try to fight, what's going on.
Yeah, try to win that win that public opinion, right?
Mhm.
I mean, especially for a country that's like 100% funded by, well, not 100%, but primarily funded by tourism and stuff like that. Who would want to go there? Who would want to go there now? I mean, I guess. And I think one of the biggest issues is, and I'm sure you've toyed with this and not toyed with it, but like stewed on it and thought about it over and over again. You probably read a million comments online or something like that. You've got to reconcile. I broke the law but this punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Mhm.
And I don't know. How do you recognize that? Because you want to tell people like, yeah, man, like, oops, I did make this mistake. I did. And kind of tie that into, well, that's the country's laws. And how do you put that together in your head?
Yeah, it's hard to do that, honestly, especially with the way that we live in America, right? I mean, we have all these freedoms and all these things that kind of make us complacent that we're able to do. I think my biggest thing was just what you said was, yes, I broke the law, but this is causing all of these people to get in this kind of trouble, and the crime doesn't fit the punishment that you're trying to give these people, or me. And that was my opinion. That was a lot of people's opinions, I think. But I think it is hard to grapple with, but
Mhm.
I think that it was just the fact that it was so harsh of a punishment for something that was a mistake, and the want to try to change that, because it's not just me that's getting caught up in this, it's a whole bunch of people, and even after I got back, it was more people getting caught up in it.
Right, right. And so, at some point, you're an American in another sovereign nation, and at some point, your family, your attorney, probably mostly with your dad, ends up getting the State Department involved, but there's no embassy there. There's no embassy in most places down there. The only embassy is in the Bahamas, I think,
Mhm.
what, like pretty much the entire Caribbean, all the way out to all the way out to like Trinidad and stuff, like all the way to the eastern side. There's only one embassy, and so how do they end up getting involved in what role do they play at that point?
Yeah, so my dad reached out to them in the beginning. Lance from the embassy actually called me on that weekend that I was in the jail, and just asked, how are you doing? You got everything you need and stuff like that. So that's how they got involved initially, is by him reaching out to them. And when we got out, or when I got out of the prison, um, it was a week or a few days later that a representative from the embassy actually came and talked to us. Um, and I mean, she essentially told me that they couldn't do anything. But, same thing that everybody, or that a lot of people said, they have their own laws. They need to be followed. The process needs to be followed, that kind of thing. So it was kind of a dead end talking to the State Department, which was very much of a letdown, I guess. You think that, or you hope that the State Department's there to help in these situations that you feel are kind of unjust. But that wasn't the case for this. At least it didn't seem like it on the front end.
Yeah, because you have the State Department who's supposed to be there to, kind of be your safe haven when people go out of the country, and I mean, obviously there's a million diplomatic reasons why embassies exist in these other countries,
Hmm.
um, but in all reality, it's not to get Americans out of a crime that they obviously committed. And so that's what kind of makes this so much different. This is it's not that you got arrested for a crime that you didn't commit, or that you got set up, or that this is all fake and it didn't really happen. It did happen.
Right.
But the punishment, the verdict is so extraordinary and out of proportion, that how do we deal with that? And I've read that the State Department did this to a couple of the other people as well, and simply said, "Hey, man, it's their laws. You got to follow them, and they're not doing anything inhumane. They're not. You broke their law. I mean, we're out." I mean, because it seemed like they said that to a couple of the other people who found themselves in this situation, and somewhere along the line, your dad figures out this has to become political, because a lot of times that's how deals are made, right? So
Hmm.
politics has to get involved, and your dad's probably not a politician, and so politics has to get involved. And so how does that end up happening? Who are some of the big players politically that get involved in this on your behalf?
Yeah. So, I mean, even just to backtrack for one thing, one story, the State Department kind of said, like you said, unless something's inhumane or people aren't being treated the same, they can't get involved. And we ran into stories where, while we were down there, that other nationality of people, and I can't remember which nationality on the top of my head, but they were found with ammo at the airport, and the customs were finding them and letting them go
Oh,
instead of bringing them in and bringing them to jail. So there was an instance where one person, one female, got brought to the jail because Brian or Ryan actually saw this happen, and she ended up somehow being released on a fine and sent back to wherever country she came from.
not American.
Not American, because we
Mm.
confirmed that with somebody.
So this starts making you think: were Americans being targeted for purposes of maybe gaining a political power or something like that. That would start going through your head.
Yeah, and that's what the kind of snowballed some of this because, Dad he was really in touch with Bob Good, which was my representative in Virginia, and then Chris Snyder was working for him, and then our governor was involved. I mean, they were in personal contact during the whole thing, and then of course, Ryan and Brian got in touch with their representatives. Mark Wayne Mullins was a huge advocate to try to help us.
Mark Wayne's like a stud. He's my senator.
Yeah.
He's a senator here, and I see his trucks every day. So, that dude got started with a plumbing company, and so his trucks drive around. He doesn't own the company anymore. I think he sold it for like $487 billion or something. But there's Mullen Plumbing driving around all the time, and we're like, oh, that's our senator.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seems like he was pretty tough, and like he brought the hammer. Representatives are good, but man, senators, they carry some power, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he formed the whole Codell that came down a week before my sentencing, I think, and a few days before Brian's. It was interesting. I mean, it was a bunch of people from everywhere. I mean, even a representative from Britain was in that meeting with us, that dinner with us on that Sunday night, and the State Department was there. And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's hard to describe because there was so much contention between the senators and the State Department because of the information that they knew and didn't act on, and just trying to be advocates for us and try to push some change for people that are getting caught up in all of this.
You do make it out on bail, and when you're out on bail, you can't leave the island, or you can't even go to the bigger islands, and you're just kind of stuck in town with the donkeys and the
bail,
dogs.
I have to check in twice a week at the police station. I could go to the bigger island, but I couldn't stay the night. I had to come back unless I got permission, which I did for that. But we got around on bikes, which was interesting. I had to fight off wild dogs, which was a feat in itself. So,
yeah, I got this. I got this cool picture right here. Tell me about this picture right here. What is that? That looks like the most perfect textbook dog I ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's the one that's barking out there.
Oh, she's barking outside the door right now.
Yeah, that's the older picture.
Yeah, and what's this pup's name?
Snow.
Snow. That's my dog's name.
Yeah.
She's I have a husky, and her name is Snow. And who's this gorgeous bride that's standing there with you?
Yeah, that's my wife, Jerry.
And how much of a role did she play in your brain in getting you through this and supporting you?
Yeah, I mean, she was amazing. I mean, she's an incredible woman. She's so strong, and she did some interviews for the news for me on my behalf, and I don't know how she got through it on her own. I mean, she wasn't on her own. She had a lot of friends that were with her and family, but she was a huge role in this whole thing, just keeping me sane and supportive. And no matter what happened, she wasn't going anywhere, obviously. But I mean, we have such a good relationship. I mean, she was just super strong during this whole ordeal.
Yeah, let me finish playing that story that we played back at the beginning, and kind of get a little bit of her perspective here.
And arrested in Turks and Caicos after authorities found ammunition in his bag as he was reboarding a Royal Caribbean cruise ship.
The last few weeks have been, they've been pretty miserable and full of uncertainty.
Now, just after his release on bail, the 30-year-old is speaking out to GMA, his wife, Jerry Ann, joining from their home in Virginia as she takes care of their 18-month-old son.
I don't have my best friend with me.
Ugh.
That's hard.
Wenrich says he boarded the cruise.
That's a terrible thing. I had this this other section right here. Hold on, let me same story. Listen to this and give me your thoughts.
in the bag because they don't have evidence. Royal Caribbean telling ABC News guests are required to comply with all national laws in every country, adding, "We have been in constant communication with his family and have worked behind the scenes to help him and his family."
Ooh. What do you think of that comment? Does that sound like an accurate comment that they were working behind the scenes to help you?
In the beginning, I will say that that is true because I'm not gonna say things that aren't true, but like in the beginning, they tried to offer some help with trying to pay for like the Airbnb and stuff like that. Just put us up in a hotel while we're out there and try to give us some financial support. And that there was a time during that whole process where my lawyer reached out to them and said, basically, this was without our push, but she basically said, you're more than welcome to help them and offer them these things, but it doesn't neglect them basically coming after you after the fact or seeking legal action after the fact. And then they kind of went silent after that.
Yeah.
Or they did go silent after that.
Either way, the part of the your wife's name's Jerry Ann, is that right?
Yeah.
Of just thinking about her back home. I mean, I got 2 kids. They're not little kids anymore, but thinking about having the wife back home, taking care of you have an infant or a toddler back home, and you were supposed to just be gone for a couple of days, goofing off with your buddies, and now she's thinking, my husband may not be here for 12 more years. And then she's probably all over the internet. She's reading terrible comments, right? I mean, social media and news stories have a way of ruining everybody's life. And so I can't believe what she must have been going through back home.
Yeah. I mean, she's super strong. That's probably the best word for the whole ordeal. I mean, she pushed through. She still went to work. She still took care of the kids, or kid at that time. And while doing these interviews, while trying not to look at the internet because of those terrible comments that people make, not understanding the whole situation. And, I think we just focused on each other when I was out, and I can actually talk to her, which was, I mean, that was one of the best things about having bail is being able to actually communicate because we didn't know the next 3 weeks if I was going to be gone for months to 12 years or whatever it was going to be. But yeah, she's a trooper for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, big shout out to her. That's amazing stuff. A lot of, we don't like to admit it, but it's tough to get through this world without a good woman back home. And I feel exactly the same way. So the politicians, how do they end up getting involved to, try to get you home safe?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know obviously everything because it wasn't shared with me. I have assumptions, but I mean, there were so many people publicly involved and privately involved that I don't know names of that I think we're talking in the back end, just trying to figure out a way to. I mean, you got 5 Americans now involved in this, try to figure out a way to solve this and make a change. Um, I think there was a lot of push in different directions to try to make that change. I just don't know what it all was. I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for the people that were involved. I think, like you said, I broke the law. That's true, but I'm glad that this was a way to make a mistake, not a 12-year sentence prison. And
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so you do make it out on bail. How long do you stay, at the Airbnb with your dad on bail while you're waiting for the final sentencing hearing? How long were you there?
I was sentenced on May 28th, so it was almost a month.
So you get a month in Turks and Caicos, and people might think that that's a vacation. Was it a great vacation that month? That month, it sounds like it
No,
might be
it was
terrible.
miserable.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about a poverty-stricken 7-mile island that you're stuck on. The pretty beaches and the good food kind of loses its effect after a week or a few
Yeah.
days.
Do you see another Royal Caribbean cruise ship come in?
Yeah, they came in frequently.
Oh my God.
Carnival and Royal Caribbean. Yeah.
Did you ever think about just running out of there and just getting home, getting on a boat, jumping on the stowaway on the Royal Caribbean boat, running away, becoming I mean, how bad would it be to be a Turks and Caicos fugitive? Do you think the Americans would turn you over to them? Did you ever think about that?
Yeah, I would hope not, but I did. And we had those thoughts more than once, to the point where, as you said, I was a pilot. So when we flew to the Big Island, they had a little Cirrus sitting on the airport, and I jokingly told Dad, I was like, we could just steal that and fly home because
Oh.
I don't want to go through the rest of this. But we had some advice from some people, and they were like, you can do it, but that's not the right option.
God, it would seem so tempting, especially in a Cirrus. That's a cool aircraft. And so the people are working behind closed doors, and we get to the end of that month. You've got a sentencing hearing, and I mean, it all comes down to one day, right? It all comes down to one hearing because you've pled guilty. There's no trial, right? So there's nobody deciding your fate other than this judge, which they call a magistrate, right?
It's the judge, yeah.
Oh, it's the judge.
Yeah.
And so this one judge got your life in his hands.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we went to the first sentencing, so my original date was set for June to do the plea hearing, or sufficiency hearing is what they call. Basically, do we have enough evidence to move forward? And Sheena told me, you might as well just, if you're going to plead guilty, you might as well just put in for expedition, which just means,
yeah, let's get it over with.
Sufficiency hearing, go to plea, go to sentence, or oral arguments, go to sentencing. So 3 court dates. So we went to the expedited hearing request, that's all it was, a request. And the judge was ready to just roll right into plea, oral arguments, and sentencing. And luckily, my lawyer and the prosecutor kind of tried to shut that down. And they postponed they got the expedited accepted. And then the next week was the plea and the oral arguments. So we went through that, and then it was sentencing. So there was a few weeks in between all of that. But each one of those courtroom sessions was walking in there, not knowing if they're just going to go through the whole thing and sentence me to, whatever it's going to be, months to 12 years. But when we got to the sentencing day, Jerry Ann and a coworker actually came down the week before on a Thursday. The sentencing was on Tuesday, so she was with me during the sentencing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she came down Thursday and spent some days with me because we weren't sure what was going to happen. And then we get to the sentencing day on Tuesday, and it was kind of ironic at the end. I guess I'll share it at the end, but we walk in there. We pray before we go in there because we don't know what's going to happen. They could cart me off to prison after we're done. I still don't know what direction he's going. And another piece of this puzzle is the judge on the main island, I can't remember her name, who has the other American cases, historically has given the Americans exceptional circumstances and fines. My judge hadn't had a case like this before on this little island, so we didn't know what direction he was going. But he starts reading out, Sheena's arguments, the prosecutor's arguments, which were some were kind of crazy and ridiculous. And then it's just a roller coaster while he's reading his delineation, essentially. What you think he's going one direction positively, and then it dips back down, and you're like, this doesn't sound good. It's you're just trying to hold in the emotions.
Oh my God. Well, on the one hand, but then on the other, and he's just, you think 12 years or nothing. It just keeps going back and forth. I think that stress would probably set me over the edge.
And he finally gets to the end of this whole thing. It's probably like an hour, and he reads off the kind of the but, right? Like, but there's these exceptional circumstances that I deem appropriate. And so he goes through with that, and then does the sentencing of I had the highest fine, which was $9,000 and time served. And I think I just the stress relief was just immediate almost. I mean, I was so surprised and relieved when he said that sentence. And I kind of just started. I think I started crying at that point because it was just so much emotion I was holding in.
Grown men can cry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. Yeah. And so, do you think that the higher fine is kind of like a shakedown thing, or what do you think that fine goes to? I mean, because normally you got court costs, and in the United States, we really don't fine people much for crimes, right? Other than maybe like, unless your crime cost somebody else something, right? Like you fraudulently, you committed fraud or stole money or something like that. So it just seems strange. Like, well, how about $9,000? Can you do that? Well, $9,000 and you can walk today.
Yeah, it was either that or I feel like it was kind of a screw you moment, honestly. Like, this is what I have to do because of whatever, but I'm gonna make it hurt a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I felt.
And so, how's the cash transfer work? You gotta meet with a briefcase out on the street, or do you write them a check? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I had to. So it was actually kind of interesting. Like, they let you do credit card payment. So I had raised mine before this in hopes that this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the passport was the fiasco that was frustrating for us, but the payment of the fine was pretty easy. Like, once we figured out where my passport was, because they couldn't find it, which was either, if you don't have your passport, you can't do anything.
Right.
Then I could just go. I just went to the clerk and was able to pay it with a credit.
You just pay it like you're paying a traffic ticket.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And so then what? So you walk out of the courthouse, and I mean, how quickly can you get off that island?
Yeah. So I walk out of the courthouse, and then we realize another hiccup is that because I was only supposed to be there for a day, my passport wasn't stamped for an extended stay.
That's right.
So now I'm in the country illegally.
Oh my God.
Because my passport was never given the 60 days or 30 days to stay in the country. So I took my lawyer with me to the customs office because I didn't want to get in trouble again. And we went and took care of that, but that took almost 2 hours because of, I don't know what they were doing. I was afraid they were going to try to find another reason to keep me there.
Yeah, you'd think like, they're letting me go, but just so they can shoot me in the back of the head as I'm walking away. Like, it's all just a big ruse.
Yeah. So we got that taken care of, and then we immediately kind of just took a breather and went to the cruise port because there was a couple ships in, and we just wanted to get away from the island picture and try to get back to something that looks a little more familiar. And it was kind of ironic because it was Urian's birthday that day, and the two ships that were in the port were it was Freedom and Celebration, which was perfect for that day.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
But we I tried to get off there as fast as I could. The earliest plane I could find was 2 days later to get off the island, so we had to stay 2 more days.
Oh my God. I'd have swam. I'd have got on a boat, and I don't know what I would have done. You got to wait 2 more days. I guess obviously it's not easy. You got to take a pond jumper or something, right, to get to another island, and then you can take a bigger plane to get home.
Yeah, small multi-engine plane off the island, and then to the main island, and then take the jets home, or the commercial airlines home.
Yeah. So what a journey between these two pictures right here. Sorry, I know you're not going to like it, but look at this violent criminal here, right? And that's your official mugshot, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then this is the big picture here. And who's this? Is this Good?
That's Bob Good. Yep.
Bob Good. And this is Jerry Ann over here, your wife. And is this little Wyatt? Who's the baby? Is that Wyatt?
Everett.
Oh, Everett. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then did Representative Good give you this flag? Is this flag still at your house?
He did. It is. Yeah. He did give me that at the airport.
Did you feel like this was like a political moment, or do you think that this guy really went out of his way along with the other politicians to do good by you.
No, I think he definitely went out of his way along with the others. I mean, one moment that really solidified that was he took us aside, just the two of us, me and Dad, no one else around, and he's like, "Let me just pray for you guys before you go back," because we were going back the next morning to get back to the little island. And so he just, he took a moment and prayed for us, and it was really nice to see that, and it kind of solidified that this wasn't just a, which I didn't think it was in the first place, but a lot of people did, like, this wasn't political. He
Right.
genuinely cares about us and this issue.
That's a big thing. Is he still the representative? Did he get? He probably had an election last year or something. Is he still the rep?
Yeah, they did, and his opponent actually won that election.
Oh no, so he's out.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing about congressmen is that a lot of people forget. And I remember I had to contact my congressman when I was younger. I got in a lot of trouble when I was a kid. I was a little punk, but I had to contact a congressman for something. And we forget that the representatives, from the House of Representatives, they're there serving a small district, typically, compared to a senator who obviously is representing a whole state. And they're doing so much work behind the scenes like this that we don't even hear about sometimes. And I know that I've seen your story quite a bit, and I didn't really see too much politicization from him. I didn't really see him as part of the story. So it really just comes across like these guys are just trying to do, trying to do what was right, And I like in the book you put, I saw the letter. There was multiple letters that were written on your behalf, and not just for you. I think it was kind of a collective letter.
Mm-hmm.
One of them signed by my Governor Stitt, and another one by Mark Wayne Mullen, and the letters were good because you'd think that those letters would originally say, we're going to have your ass if you don't let this dude go, or something like that, some type of threat or something like that. And I love the way they were written. I'll put them up on the screen so people can see them. And because basically what they're saying is, it's so, I don't want to say like medieval, but it's just a philosophy as old as life is, with the philosophy of mercy. And that's what they asked for. And they didn't say they didn't say your rules are terrible. They didn't say you guys are arcane. They just look, dude, just have mercy on this dude. We plead. And I thought that was probably the most genuine thing I've ever seen governors do, or senators, it was a true plea for mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems, it seems that that plea was honored. Do you think that it was? Do you think that the judge recognized mercy on you?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, like I said, I did break the law, and whether it was it was a mistake, but regardless of that, it was still a broken law. And I think that that they definitely did on all of us. I mean, and not only that, moving forward, they did. They changed the law since then to try to make things better. So
right, I read in 2020
came out of that.
Was it last year or last summer? I saw that they did. I'll pull that up too and throw it up on the screen. That there was that the law changed to give them more discretion for cases like this, because it's going to happen again. If it happens thousands of times a year in the United States, it's going to happen again in Turks and Caicos. It's gonna, right? And you don't want somebody to bite the bullet for that. That's a terrible pun joke. But so how do we feel about Royal Caribbean today? Is there plans to go on another cruise? Is there how do we feel about that now?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm very much the person that doesn't want an event to keep me from doing something. Things happen, and I don't like it to keep me from doing things in life. So a cruise is not off the table. I do think that there needs to be some policy changes with Royal Caribbean specifically, but also other cruise ships, if they don't have them already, to have some discretion in what happens on their ship. If
Yeah,
it's on
absolutely.
someone else's land, that's one thing. But if it's on your ship, have that conversation of how you deal with it, even if it's situational.
Right, right. A lot of other cool stuff to do besides going on a cruise ship too. So I
Yeah,
think
there is.
you got a lot of choices out there.
No,
Kind
it's
of
not my list.
kind of like one of the last things, and this kind of it when reading your book, talking to you. I mean, you're such an amazing dude. You've done such amazing things. You got this family. You got a great wife who's busting that ass, and dad who's that's the dad people dream about, right? Who's
Mhm.
you and now you're a father. You want to be those kind of people. Typically fathers, we want to be. I'm just speaking for myself, but I think a lot of people feel like that. You want to be the problem solver. You want to be able to help your children. You want to be able to help your family, and your father was able to do that.
Yeah.
For you, which I think is just a beautiful story, and all the support you had. But the thing that stands out about this to me the most is not the crazy sentence. It's not the Royal Caribbean, tossing you aside, or any of that. It's that you came out of this, in my opinion, because you held yourself accountable. And there's so many choices that you could have made when you went in front of that judge at the beginning, of pleading not guilty, of fighting this, of there's so many roads that you could have gone down, right? And we've joked about stealing the airplane. I mean, there's a million things that you could have done.
Mm-hmm.
But you stood in front of that judge and you said, "Yeah, man, I did that." And in this world, accountability goes a long way. I think you should be proud of that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think if I want anybody to get anything out of this whole story, my book, it's me and Dad's bond, and it's what you just said. Just holding yourself accountable, and also kind of putting yourselves in other people's shoes, I guess.
So here's this book again. We'll put it right here. Let's see if this thing focuses. 2 Bullets, 12 Years, and it's written by both people. We didn't really talk about that too much, but there's a lot of stories in here. There's a lot of stories within the stories, and you tell the story from your perspective because you're stuck in that jail cell, or you were stuck on the boat at the beginning, and then your dad kind of writes it. Kind of mirrors it, the same time frame, but from his point of view. And it's interesting to see the different perspectives on how different things are happening. You're worried about yourself and your son, and he's worried about his son. It's just wild, man. It's a crazy story. Hopefully you got no regrets, man. It seems like everything turned out perfect. You got another baby kid on the way, or you do have another baby right now.
Yep. Yeah, he's 3 months old.
3 months old. It's a beautiful thing. Life's a beautiful thing. I appreciate you coming on, man. And hopefully whenever we come out to Virginia, I got some family who are in the western part of Virginia as well.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are, up there in the Smokies somewhere. Maybe we'll hook up, grab a beer or something like that, man. But it sounds like you're doing cool stuff, and just keep it up and keep doing the right thing, man.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I appreciate you.
Saray, you got any last words?
Nope.
No questions?
Nope. I'm good.
That's it, man. We're out.